something that completely changed the way that you saw the world. A moment that lasted with you long after it was gone. Well, I've had one of those moments. So during my school break last year, my family and I traveled to Bangalore. It was the 31st of May and I was at the mall with my mom. We were heading to the food court for lunch when I heard a loud thud. The sound was sharp, unsettling, and within seconds, people rushed towards the mezzanine balconies. You know, the ones on every floor overlooking the center of the mall? Well, curiosity got the best of me, so I followed. And there on the ground floor was a man lying unconscious in a pool of blood. He had jumped from the 4th floor. Nothing made sense. This was a mall where families came to make memories, a mall where you could hear little kids screaming with joy in arcades. But what was more disturbing was the reaction, or rather, the lack of it. People glanced down and went back to shopping as if nothing had happened, as if this was just another ordinary Friday. Was I the only one who truly felt the weight of what had just happened? Within seconds, the mall's cleaning staff and police entered. The scene was cleared so efficiently, it was as if it had never happened. The sharp scent of the cleaning disinfectant spread through the mall, masking the tragedy. Choppers strolled in, unaware of what had just occurred moments ago. And that night, I didn't sleep. All night, my mind raced with questions. Who was he? Why did he do it? Did he fall by mistake? Did his family know? Was someone waiting for him at home? And the next morning, news articles flooded the internet. And I found out that he was only 21 years old. 21. He had been battling depression for months after struggling to find a job post-graduation. And in less than 24 hours, the world had already moved on. And that was the moment I realized that this wasn't just about one person. This was about how we as a society treat suffering. We read about tragedies in newspapers and on social media almost on a daily basis, but we fail to grasp the true gravity of the situation. Someone who read a news article about this incident would have thought about it for maybe a day or two and moved on to the next big piece of breaking news. But for people involved in the tragedy, friends, families, acquaintances, even people who witnessed it, the ground beneath them shifts. We live in a world where a job is given priority over your life, where a college degree and your academics define your worth more than your character does, where people choose breaking relationships over making them. This is the world that we live in. Today, the world is a broken place, and repairing it begins with redefining the very systems that we believe shape us and changing the way that we treat ourselves. If we live in a world where people so easily glance at suffering and move on, imagine how we must treat our own pain. How often do we struggle in silence, failing to acknowledge our true feelings? I want you all to take a moment and think about a time where you were way too hard on yourselves. Take a moment and think about it. Have you got your moment? Now, ask yourselves this. Did it help? Did being that hard on yourself really help? Because I can't think of one instance where it did me any good. So now one incident that comes to mind is my 10th grade boards. Now, I'm sure that we've all had our fair share of memorable experiences with the boards. Let's just say mine was not that great. See, I'm the kind of person who makes mountains out of molehills. So when my pre-boards didn't go as well as I'd expected they would, my mind went straight into doomsday mode. I started thinking, now I've ruined my boards, which obviously means no good college, which means no job, which means that I've ruined my life. And at that point of time, it really did feel that way. Now you're probably expecting me to give you the cliched response where I used this as negative motivation, studied twice as harder, and had some big academic comeback. And this is the part where I turn it into a teaching moment about hard work and perseverance. Well, I wish that was what would have happened. My scores ended up dropping even lower. Why? Fear. Fear of still not being good enough. I second guessed even the easiest of questions, overanalyzing them so much, I ended up making mistakes I would have never made before. Self-sabotage at its finest. Now, cut to, my boards did go well, but I was not satisfied. Not because I didn't get the marks that I wanted, but because I realized that no score would have been worth the amount of self-doubt and criticism that I put myself through. And that was when I realized maybe it wasn't just about my expectations. Maybe without even realizing it, I had been measuring my worth through someone else's eyes. As if being hard on ourselves wasn't enough, we decide to take it a step further. We start to crave validation. Validation is believing you can only feel good if someone else says you can and feel bad if they say you should. It's constantly asking yourself, am I good enough? And waiting for others to confirm it. Because deep down, it's easier to drown in self-doubt than to trust your own judgment. So in the 1950s, there was an interesting experiment conducted by Solomon Asch. So, participants were given 2 cards, one with 1 line on it and another with 3 lines of different lengths. The task was simple. Pick the line that matched the first one. Now here's the twist. Most of the participants were actors, hired by the experimenter himself to choose the wrong answer. And now initially, the real participants chose the right answer. And then they saw everyone else in the room confidently giving the wrong answer. And guess what happened? 75% of the participants changed their answer. They knew they were right and they went with the group. Now, why does this matter? Because we do it all the time. We look around to see what everyone else thinks, and suddenly, their approval becomes more important than what we actually think. That is validation. It's letting someone else's opinion override what you know is true. For instance, if someone came up to me and said, "Your name isn't Sheba," I would think that you'd lost your mind. I'm not going to ask you what my name is because I know that it's Sheba. But if you came up to me and said something like, "You're not good enough," the first thing I do is ask why. When something is a fact, you're confident. You don't question it. But when it's something subjective, the doubt creeps in. Think of self-worth like packing a bag for a trip. If you've got all the supplies you need, you won't go around begging for it. But if the bag is empty, you'll take all sorts of scrap and junk from anyone that comes your way. You only seek external validation when you fall short of it internally. Now, here's the problem with seeking validation. You will meet hundreds, if not more, in your life. And if you feel the need to constantly seek validation from each and every one, you'll find yourself going out of your way and bending yourself to meet these needs and wants of hundreds. And that is exhausting. That is when your social battery gives up on you and you start to lose your sense of identity. You wake up only to realize that you hate who you've become because all this time you've been trying so hard to make everyone around you happy that you never noticed how unhappy you were. I think what we need to understand is that this world will always have something to say. Someone will always be unhappy with the choices you make. Someone will always not like you. And that's okay. It is impossible to make everyone like you. But it is possible to like yourself. And that is what should matter more. You can only stop craving validation when you finally give yourself the compassion you keep looking for in others. Now, what is self-compassion? Well, psychology defines it as the act of extending kindness towards oneself, especially in situations of perceived failure. Simply put, it means treating yourself kindly when things don't go your way. Now, I know you've heard enough about self-love and self-compassion and that it's easier said than done. But give me a minute. I feel like we've all only been told half the story. Self-love and self-compassion isn't about loving yourself when things are easy. It's about choosing to love yourself when it's easier to hate yourself. It is making that choice. What if the reason you doubt yourself is not because you're not good enough, but because you were never taught how to be on your side? So a few days ago, a close friend of mine called me up, overwhelmed and struggling. And the only solution that she could see was to blame herself. And now this made absolutely no sense because what she was blaming herself about was something completely out of her control. And I spent hours trying to convince her, it's not your fault, don't blame yourself. I tried all of that. And she just kept finding new ways to blame herself. And then finally, I asked her, what if it were me? What if it were me in your place? Would you still blame me? She went silent. And of course not, she said. And that was when I realized that it's so much more easier to be kinder and more compassionate to someone you love than to yourself because you feel like they are more deserving of it. What if I told you that self-compassion isn't something you have to earn, but something you can choose? And what if I told you that there was an easy 4-step way to make that choice easier every single time? So, I came up with PACT. P-A-C-T. Pause, assess, change, trust. So it works like this. When you find yourself being too hard on yourselves, I want you all to take a moment to pause. Stop and notice what you're thinking. What are those voices telling you? If you're struggling, is it saying you'll never figure it out? If you messed up, is it calling you a failure? Just notice it. Because that voice is only going to get louder. But noticing it is the first step to silencing it. Now, assess. Put a loved one in that situation. Your best friend, your child, your partner, your sibling, anyone. And see how you'd see things then. And I guarantee you, you will have a whole new perspective. You'd realize that you love them too much to be as harsh on them as you are on yourself. Now, change. Flip the script. Tell yourself what you would tell them. If you wouldn't say to a loved one, don't say it to yourself. It is that simple. Now, trust. Now, this is the part that takes a little bit of practice. Believing it. It might feel a little weird and funny at first, but I want you to remind yourself that self-compassion isn't lying to yourself. It's treating yourself fairly. You are the most deserving of the compassion that you so easily give others. So, to sum it up, pause, stop and notice what you're thinking. Assess, put a loved one in that situation. Change, flip the script. 4, trust, believe that you deserve it. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this, it's that this world is hard enough as it is. And the last thing it needs is for you to be hard on yourself too. So, if no one's told you this before, let me be the first. You are enough. Right now, as you are. Not when you hit a certain goal, not when you prove yourself to someone else. Right now. And the next time you find yourself doubting that, I want you to remember PACT. P-A-C-T. 4 easy letters. I want you to say it with me. Pause. Assess. Change. Trust. See? Simple as that. Know that you are enough. You always have been. Long before you doubted it. Healing yourself is not selfish. It is the first step towards healing the world. Thank you.